Hello everyone, and thank you for joining me today for this short webinar where we are going to look at what's new in the 2021 Wave 2 in sales, customer service, and marketing module. And of course, we are going to take a look at what are the general updates on the Dynamics 365 platform. I hope you can hear me and see me okay. And since it's 9:01, I suggest that we start with the webinar. First, let me just shortly introduce myself. My name is Andrej Černivec. I work at BE-terna. Probably you are familiar with our company. We are one of the largest implementators of Dynamics solutions and Microsoft solutions in general in our area. I'm currently working as customer landing manager or business developer. Main thing is here that you have my contact info. So if you have any questions, you are welcome to write them in the Q&A section of this webinar, and I will try to answer it at the end or after the webinar. If you have any questions later, please feel free to contact me either through LinkedIn or via email. I will be glad to help you with anything that you have. Okay, so let's start with the content. So the main topic of webinar today is Release Wave 2. For those of you who don't know, Dynamics, Microsoft in the Dynamics world has 2 releases every year. One is usually in October, one is in April, and we are currently looking at the second release wave. As you see in the slide, it will be released on October 1st, 2021. Now, why is this called a release wave? Basically because not all updates, not all new content that we will see today is published directly on October 1st, but it's actually published throughout time from October to April. So we'll take a look at for each specific functionality when it should be available, but you can expect some things to be published by Microsoft later, and that's why it is named a wave. So basically, if we take a look at this period, we will have updates periodically pretty much every month. Okay, so today we are going to cover 3 modules, as I mentioned: sales, customer service, and a little bit of marketing. We'll try to cover the main updates in about 30 minutes, I hope. Now, there are a lot of new things, a lot of updates, and obviously we won't go through every single thing that Microsoft will publish in this wave, but I cherry-picked some of the interesting things that I think will help you and your business throughout the next couple of months. Now, for each theme, each module, Microsoft kind of publishes a general theme of the update, so you know where their focus was while developing this. And this year, basically this update, we have the following topics for sales module. They were focusing on improving collaboration by integrating teams into Dynamics 365. One way is calling, but there are other various ways of integration. We'll have a look at this a little bit later. They were focusing on how to better manage pipelines in the sales process. We have this new thing called Deal Manager, which was actually published in the previous release, but we didn't actually have a chance to look at it or play with it. Now we have. They have improved relationship with integration to LinkedIn. Now, LinkedIn obviously has been integrated with Dynamics for some time now, but with each iteration, they make this integration better. They added a bunch of tools that improve forecasting. We'll take a look at some of the bits later on. You have kind of guided selling with new and improved Sales Accelerator. Now, Sales Accelerator, again, was available in the previous platform, so we won't go into the details with this topic, but there are some modifications, some improvements, so the overall experience will be better with this new release. And they also changed some things in the mobile app, so we have improved mobile experience for sellers with the sales module. On the second module, which is customer service, that we will look today, they kind of had the focus of implementing this solution quickly. So you have improved process once you set up the environment, how you can set up everything to start working immediately. This is what they meant by enable customers to be up and running quickly. They were focusing on delivering all-in-one contact center. This actually means that there were improvements in the omnichannel section. There were improvements in the number of ways you can communicate with your customers. Main thing being new voice channel. They also improved knowledge authoring and management. For those of you who are using knowledge base, these improvements will be, I think, useful in terms of handling how you kind of manage content inside before you actually publish it to your users. And then they also improved, and this goes hand in hand with the all-in-one contact center, options for actually routing calls, routing different messages in contact center. And then, as I mentioned, we'll also take a look at the marketing. With the marketing updates, they kind of focused on better engagement towards the customers in different moments across all customer touchpoints. They kind of prepared improvements in regards to personalization. So, for example, when you are preparing email content, email templates, and stuff like that. And they were trying to include analytics and AI to make decisions easier, to make decisions better, and of course, as a result, to prepare better marketing content. Okay, so let's maybe just start with general improvements. And let's go to the first topic. Now, the first update that we have is improved sitemap in model-driven apps. It's a small update, but could be welcome for some of you. As you can see on the screenshots, each of the sections on the left-hand side can now be collapsed. So basically, if you have a lot of stuff in the navigation, this makes it really easy to navigate, and you only open up a certain subsection. For example, here on the example, we have my work opened, as you can see. So you only focus on the items that you actually need, and you have all other subsections at hand without scrolling, without filling the complete screen. This functionality should be available right at the beginning when the release is published on October 2021. The next thing that we have is advanced lookup capabilities. I'm sure that all of you who are using Dynamics 365 are using lookup fields in your solutions. And if you have a lot of records in the background, sometimes it can be a pain to find the correct records to actually link what you want to a certain record. Microsoft is trying to improve this with a functionality called advanced lookup capabilities. Basically, the field itself, lookup on the form, as you can see on the screen, looks the same. But once you start typing, you can actually see results as you type. And if you can't find the correct record, then you can push the advanced lookup button that you see marked here on the screen. And once you push this button, you actually get a new pop-up where you have all of these additional functionalities. And pop-up looks like this. It's almost full screen, and you get a big search bar. And on the screen, of course, you can search, you get the results. But the most important thing is that when you are searching through the records, you get all of these additional columns, which makes it easier for you to pick the correct record, right? And once you finish the search, in some cases, of course, you want to actually pick multiple records. So now if you look at the screen, you will see that you actually have segmented entities or tables, as they are called, on the left side. So you can decide if you want to search through cases, accounts, or whatever, if you have a lookup with multiple entities. And once you have the results, you can actually select multiple records, and you can see the records are visible at the bottom left on the screen. And when you are happy with your choice, you just click done and your lookup will be filled. So it's a much nicer experience when you are searching through a large database of some kind of entities or tables. It will be like this. This is also a functionality which will be available right at the beginning on October 2021. Okay, if we go a little bit further, they also improved how we are handling views inside Dynamics 365. And of course, views are being used everywhere in all of the modules: sales, customer service, marketing, all other modules, and Power Apps as well. So in this new view, you can actually modify the columns directly from the view. Now, up until now, of course, users could create their own views, could add their own columns, but they actually had to go through the interface, create new view, and once these columns were set, if you wanted to quickly change something, of course, you had to edit this view, and it was pain for a normal user. Now you have a button, change columns, and when you push that button, you actually get this interface with existing columns on the view, and you can just switch places really easily. You can remove some of the columns, and then have a button, as you can see, add column, and you can simply add additional columns to this view. So it's really easy for every user that is using Dynamics to personalize the view and get the data that he or she actually needs, right? And this is also something that will be available right at the beginning on October 2021. Okay, so the next thing that we have is side panes. Now, this thing that you see on the screen, this side panel, may look familiar to you. It has been used in, for example, customer service module, in agent workplace and stuff like that. The main difference is that the app pane that was used before only had kind of a single form, so you could only check one thing. Now this will be available throughout the system, and you can actually have multiple forms. By that, I mean that if you take a look at the right-hand side, you can actually have multiple buttons on the right-hand side, and you can actually pick. So for example, on the same side pane, you can select accounts, you can select contacts, you can select opportunities, stuff like that, and you do not lose focus on the thing that you have in the main window. And another great feature is coming, that you can actually put some kind of not notifications, but badges on these buttons for different entities to alert the user that something new is going on here. And you can see this, for example, we have this one on the button, so it's kind of similar like badges that you have on your mobile phones, and it's a great feature to notify customers that they actually need to check this screen. Okay, then we have a completely new experience for editing multiple records. Now, those of you who are using that feature know that the edit functionality up until now actually provided us with the old interface, the old screen, like we had, for example, advanced find some time ago, right? So you had these old buttons and everything. Now the legacy interface is finally deprecated, and Microsoft introduced this new interface for editing multiple records. So now when you select multiple records and click edit, you will see this pop-up window. As you see on the screen, actually it's a side panel with a normal form that you can just use to edit data inline, click save, and of course all of the records that you selected as expected will be updated with the new values. This is also something that will be available right at the beginning on October 2021. Okay. Then there is probably one of the biggest features of this update, at least when we are talking about the general improvements, is embedded Teams collaboration. Now, you might have noticed that pretty much every product that Microsoft is currently developing and publishing on the market has some kind of Teams integration, and Teams is becoming the center of our workplace, right? So, of course, logically, Microsoft improved the Teams collaboration and integration with dynamic systems also. What you can actually do now, or actually will be able to do in January 2021, is to use the Dynamics interface with Teams embedded directly into the browser in the same interface. So you won't have to switch between two apps or two windows to actually chat with someone, ask someone regarding some content. But as you can see on this right-hand side, you will actually have chats and channels embedded here. And of course, this integration will go even further. Now, if you take a look at this a little bit closer, so you can see we have Sales Accelerator on the left-hand side, just a normal screen. But then we have this side panel on the right-hand side, which says Teams. And you can actually scroll through your chats, or you can click the Channels tab and you can actually scroll and use chats. And this is kind of meant that when you are working, for example, in the sales context on a certain opportunity, you can simply ask somebody from your company what is the status of the opportunity, and then push everything along. Another example how we can use sales is, for example, in this new deal manager view that we'll be looking at a little bit later. And you can see you also have chats on the right-hand side, and you can just simply check or discuss something with your colleagues and push opportunities along. Apart from chats and apart from channels, you can actually then call people from Dynamics directly, which means that you are on a certain record. In our case here on the screenshot, we have a opportunity, or sorry, a lead records. Of course, you want to make a call, you click call, and then this side panel opens up and you have Teams integration. And of course, you can call directly from the Dynamics. And if you look carefully on the screen, of course, this doesn't work for all of the languages, but in English it should work okay. You actually get a transcript of the conversation on the bottom right on the window. Okay, so you can see that Teams are now deeply integrated into Dynamics. So this is kind of the general improvements that we have here in Dynamics 365. Now let's jump into more specific updates for certain modules, and we will start with our sales module. Now, the first thing that I want to talk about is Deal Manager Workspace, as you can see on the screen. Now, this Deal Manager is actually not part of this new release as a new functionality. It was announced on the previous release, but the main thing is that now we can actually see the interface and we can actually play with the interface. It is still currently in preview phase, but you can actually implement this on your environment right now. So what you actually have to do is just get the URL for your organization, just add this to navigation, and users will actually be able to access the new view. The point of this new Deal Manager Workspace is to have a better overview of your opportunities, to organize them. And as you saw, you get this nice bubble graph where, for example, the size of the bubbles can represent the revenue or expected revenue of the opportunity, and the positioning of the bubble will represent where on the timeline this opportunity stands, where will you close it, and what is actually the percentage, the chance that you will close this opportunity, right? Now, this is currently in preview, so you can change these things, but later on, you will actually decide what parameters can you use, basically what will represent the size of the bubble and so on. Also, you get this nice side panel where you can quickly edit the data of a certain opportunity. You can check the activities, you can add notes and stuff like that. And if you want, if you see on the, as you can see on the screen, you can actually open the opportunity as a normal full screen view and check all of the details that you need there. So I have been using this for that past month or so, and I must say that it's a really nice view to quickly go through your opportunities, to check what's coming in the next, let's say, couple of weeks, and to make quick changes to the opportunities. And I found myself not even using the complete interface with full details anymore. So I recommend that you check it and see if it fits for your needs. The next thing that we will get is new dashboards. Now, it's not a big new wow update, but it's nice to get new features without, let's say, some additional work or development or something like that. Now, what we will get is actually one manager dashboard and one real-time sellers KPI. The manager dashboards will have stuff like number of active leads in the organization versus previous periods. That was usually a common request to have some kind of parallel data analysis. You will see the conversation ratio between leads and opportunities. You will see leads by sources, by sellers. So managers will have kind of an overview of what their team is doing and where do they stand in terms of leads. And you will have a dashboard for sellers, so they can check what is their number of qualified leads, calls, meetings. So they will kind of get a general idea where they are in terms of their activities and estimated value. This will be in preview mode, available to all on December 2021. And currently we do not have a general release date yet. The next thing that could prove useful in sales scenario is lead routing. This actually means that once a new lead comes into your system, either you type it in by hand or it comes through your webpage or marketing tool or something like that, it usually needs to be assigned to a certain salesperson, and he or she needs to start working on this lead. And usually this was a manual task. But now you can actually set up logic that will automatically assign leads to your sales team. And what you can do, you can actually define segments of leads. So basically you set up parameters for certain leads, so you know in which segment this lead goes. And then you can say, okay, if I have a lead with certain specifics, assign it to this segment, and everything that is assigned to this segment is then assigned to a certain person. So you can then check lead attributes. So basically you just decide what you want to monitor on the lead to then use this in the logic for routing. And then you can check seller attributes. So you can actually check which areas certain sellers are covering and stuff like that. So you actually can create specific logic that takes into account the skills of your sellers. And then you decide on the distribution method. Now, the most common, of course, is round robin. So you make sure that the distribution of leads is kind of even. And of course, one thing that is also a nice feature is that you can actually check how many leads the sales person actually has, so you don't overload them, and you take that into account while assigning leads. This functionality will come as a preview on December 2021, and we do not have a general release date right now. Okay, I was talking before that there are a lot of new functionalities in terms of Teams meeting integration. Before we took a look at how you can kind of use Teams within the Dynamics 365 interface. Now this scenario is actually vice versa, how you can use Dynamics inside the Teams interface. And if you can see on the screen here, you have a Teams meeting, but on the right-hand side, you actually have Dynamics 365 content, and you have details, in our case, summary, related contents of a specific deal, and so on. So basically, the idea is that you have a call, let's say, regarding a certain opportunity, and then instead of going into the Dynamics, people on the call can actually see data right in the Teams interface and actually change data in the Teams interface, take notes, and these notes from the meeting will be automatically synced back to Dynamics 365, so you don't have manual work, and everything, of course, is stored in one place, and you can check it later right in the Dynamics 365 interface. So I think it will be a nice feature and really useful in a day-to-day sales scenario. The second feature that is also related to Teams is that you can send automated chat notifications from Dynamics 365 to Teams. You will get this Dynamics 365 sales bot in your Teams, which is basically kind of just you will see it as a person wanting to talk to you. And through this bot, notifications will be sent from Dynamics. One way is that if somebody will use a mention in the timeline of a record, the bot will notify you. So you will know if someone is talking about you, and you can check the content then in the dynamics. You will get notifications based on AI-driven insights. So for example, some kind of updates in regards to some records, or for example, in this case, email follow-up alert or stuff like that. You can actually follow records. This is an old functionality, but if something happens with a certain record that you follow, you will get notification right into your Teams, and you can actually configure what the notifications do you want or do not want right there in Teams, and frequency, so you don't get notification updates every 5 minutes, right? So it could be useful in a day-to-day scenario for us to not forget or miss anything. Okay, then that's a nice one. You can actually have contextual messages in Teams, which means that you can actually pick a record and send this record to someone through Teams. We can see an example here, and you will get the data about, let's say, opportunity. And the good thing is that you will actually be able to modify the data through Teams using these contextual, basically, messages. And Microsoft is saying that you won't, or person who will see this contextual data won't actually need to have Dynamics 365 license. They will get kind of a team member license, team member in quote, because it's not really a team member license with the Teams license. So basically, people could check the data and do basic stuff from Teams on Dynamics records without the license. So I think this is a pretty great and huge functionality, and it should be available on January 2022. And they are, as I mentioned at the beginning, kind of improving and expanding the forecasting functionality. For now, the ones who were using this know you only had basically quarterly views, and now Microsoft is expanding this to annual views, weekly and yearly periods. So you can actually change the time scale and then change the forecast for a specific period. And this should be available on January 2022. And of course, the base for forecasting usually is quota. Up until now, you just uploaded a file to assign quota to specific, for example, salespeople. But now you can actually edit the quota inline, and of course, if they have permission, salespeople can actually edit the quota inline also, which means that you will have up-to-date data in your forecast all of the time, because it's really easy to change this in the interface. And they are also adding rollups, which means that if you are a, let's say, team manager, the quota will roll up from your team members, and if they change it, it will change for you also, and if a team member is moved, the quota will change accordingly. This will be available in January 2022. Okay, so now let's move on to customer service. So again, there is focus on integration with Microsoft Teams in customer service. Now here we actually get an inline chat. I mentioned this before, but on this screenshot, you can actually see a window how this will look like. And the idea is that, for example, some customer service agency is working on a case and he needs some additional info from another employee in the company, for example, a supervisor, a support expert, something like that. Instead of going to a different tool, you can ask this person directly in Dynamics interface and use chat as you would normally use it in Teams. You actually get AI-driven suggestions of agents who resolve similar cases. You can contact them and ask them something. You have access to recent Microsoft Teams chat lists. You can actually link chats to a case record. So basically, whoever will open these records later on will see the chat, which usually helps with resolving issues or with checking what actually happened on the case, if there was some escalation later on or something like that. And of course, all of these chats will be accessible from the Teams also. Then we have an improvement in the universal resource scheduling experience. The ones who were using, that we have a new and old scheduling board, but there were some differences. There were some functionalities lacking in the new scheduling board, so it wasn't usable in all scenarios. Microsoft is now saying that this is one-on-one. So basically everything that was in the old scheduling board is now available in the new scheduling board. So everyone can start using it. And because of this, with this new update, the new scheduling board will be the default version in the refill scheduling module. Another thing is that you can now schedule requirement groups, which means that you can schedule multiple resources with one click right on the scheduling board. And this should be available right at the beginning on October 2021. Then Microsoft also added some kind of AI support. As I mentioned at the beginning, they are trying to help users, agents, and in this case, they are helping with knowledge articles. And based on the content of the knowledge base article, Microsoft is using AI to suggest keywords that should be added to this. Of course, again, this is all dependent on the language that you are using. It should work really well for English language. We don't have information which languages will be supported currently. And of course, we haven't had the chance to test this yet, so we don't know how it actually works. It should be available as a preview on October 2021, and yet. Then we have voice channel powered by Azure Communication Services. Now, the usual scenario is that we take Dynamics 365 and integrate it with any kind of telephone central solution, something like that. But in this case, now you can get all-in-one solution. So basically, you will get a voice channel as a part of the omni-channel for customer service functionality, of course, as an add-on. And this should cover all of the usual needs of a call center. So for example, you have the ability to distribute incoming calls, to make outbound calls, to manage SMS. You get real-time sentiment analysis, you get transcriptions, you get real-time translations if needed, you get smart assist suggestions, and everything else that you can basically expect from such functionality. So actually customers can now get all-in-one solution right from Microsoft, and everything, of course, in the cloud. And this should be available from November 2021. And then another thing, the last thing that we have in customer service is that we can bring our own data into the timeline. The timeline, of course, is this panel that you get on the records in Dynamics 365, where you get all of the activities, the history basically of your communication with the client and everything that you did. Now we can actually add data to this timeline that is not stored in Dynamics 365. So you can actually pull data from external systems, and it will behave in the same way as the data stored in Dynamics. So you can look at it in timeline, you can filter it, you can search through it, and you now get even better overview of your customer using this functionality. And this will be available in November 2021. And now, last but not least, we will take a look at a couple of the updates in the marketing module. So one thing that I find interesting in marketing module is that Microsoft will help you create content easily and efficiently with AI-based content ideas. This basically means that when you will be building, let's say, a new email template or a new email content, you will get this side panel, as you can see on the screen, content ideas, and you will actually get suggestions for your content based on what you already did. And of course, it can serve as a new idea. You can just copy paste the content. In any case, this is meant to help you create even better and richer content as you did right now, and of course, to speed up the process. And this will be available as a preview function. General release date is not available on October 2021. The second thing that I think a lot of companies are starting to use is customer insights. And of course, the point of customer insights is that you have all of your customer data gathered there in one place. now Microsoft is improving the integration between customer insights and marketing module integration that you get out of the box. So now pretty much everything that you do in marketing, all of the interactions such as messages sent, opened, and clicked are available as activities in customer service, which means that they can be added to the customer view, as you can see on the screen. And if we take a look at the timeline that is on the right-hand side, you will actually see that you have a record on the timeline that email was sent or email was opened or stuff like that. So everything that you would expect from the timeline in the marketing tool is now available. And of course, you can use the integration between customer insights and other systems like Dynamics 365 Sales with the customer card add-in or integration with Power BI and add this timeline to forms in Dynamics in Power BI and get all of the data from marketing there also without additional integrations. And this will be available as a preview feature on December 2021. And again, we don't have a general release date yet. Then we have a webinar registration experience in Teams joined with marketing. So basically you can create everything you need for a webinar in a couple of clicks, and it's directly connected to marketing. So you can push everything out to the customers using marketing, and you can manage registrations, including approving, declining, waitlist functionalities and stuff like that. And you can, of course, trigger journeys in Dynamics 365 marketing right there based on the behavior from Microsoft Teams, which is a nice feature and will be available on December 2021. And then the last functionality that we have, we're a bit over time already, is that you can actually use Power Automate in customer journeys right now. So basically you can invoke a Power Automate flow from any point in the customer journey. The example that, for example, Microsoft is providing here is that if you have a survey in customer journey and you are waiting feedback, when you get feedback, you can trigger Power Automate and you can notify your team via Teams. But of course, if you can trigger Power Automate, that opens up unlimited number of possibilities because you can use all of the connectors, everything that you have in Power Automate. And this also goes in the other direction, so you can actually trigger a customer journey from a Power Automate flow. So again, you have unlimited number of scenarios when you can use Power Automate, and as a step in Power Automate, you can actually trigger customer journey and send something to the customer, or have a complete process defined in marketing. This will be available as a preview functionality in November 2021, and we do not have a general release date for this functionality yet. Okay, we were a bit over time. I hope you heard something interesting. I know there was a lot of stuff. We went through it quickly. So again, if you have any questions, you can contact me later and I will be happy to answer. Let me just check if we have any questions currently that we can maybe answer right now. Okay, we have a question. If Teams integration are chat, phone calls, creating CRM activities. Actually, I do not have information right now if this will result in a CRM activity, but the communication will definitely be visible on the Dynamics record. So for example, as I mentioned, you can chat with someone and then you can pin this chat to a certain record. It probably won't be visible as activity. We don't know that yet, but you will definitely have a section chats and you will see which chats are pinned to a certain record, so you can browse through this, right? Can I share the video and the slides if possible? Yeah, of course. Please reach out to me. Maybe it would be the best if you contact me on LinkedIn or send me an email, and I will be happy to reply with the slides. And I think that this video will also be published, so I can send you a link to this video and you can check it later. Okay, so I think this is it. So thank you again for taking the time. Thank you again for listening. I hope that you learned something new, and I hope that at least one of the new functionalities will help you improve your business in the future. So have a nice day, and until the next release.